everyone, this is Jay Risk. Sorry about the delay. I've been writing out some pretty cool rhythms, as you know, and some things, taking these new meds. Quite scary. You're pretty much sitting in a chair, like gripping everything, hoping that your heart doesn't flip out. But here's some stories I decided to give you because I'm asking for your donations to help me get through some procedures. Some which may save my life, others may just correct this whole thing, and I'll just be good for the rest of my life. So, but right now I am in a downward spiral, I guess, medically speaking. So here we go. I have a first story for you. It's fun, it's neat. If anybody's been to a hospital and had an IV or has had their blood taken, you know, standard procedure, especially when you go into the doctor's office, they put the blood pressure cuff on you, they tie around that tourniquet, and then they take your blood. Well, I was about 9 years old. No, I'm sorry. This was my fourth open heart, not my third, sorry. And my roommate was really cool. Him and I had this like unsaid agreement to where lights off at night, pretty much the door shut so that both of us could get some rest because we were tired. So I'm laying there, no door opened, no nothing. All of a sudden I hear and a blood pressure cuff goes around me. And I was like, who's there? It's dark. I was like, who's there? She's like, relax. I'm just going to take your blood, okay? I was like, what? And she waited until it puffed all the way up. And then she stuck me, took my blood, ripped the cuff off, and goes, all right. I said, whoa. I didn't see you even come in here. I had to joke with her. I was like, are you a Navy SEAL? And she's like, just get some sleep, baby. That's what a Navy SEAL would say. The plausible deniability. She didn't say anything. Right? There are no women Navy SEAL. There is a woman, and she's a Navy SEAL, and that was that. I wanted to start off with a little fun one for you. I had a horrible IV story for you. This one's just real quick. I was with my mother. It was in New Jersey. And there was a lady. She seemed kind of nervous. But she was acting as if she had done this forever. So by this time in my life, I could tell a mile away who's done it and who hasn't. So the lady couldn't get anything in these veins, which everybody can. So she decided to go through my hand. As she's going through my hand, she's like, I can't hit the vein. I don't know. And, you know, I don't look and just I talk or whatever, you know. I looked this time and the needle had gone under many layers of skin and came out the other end. That's when I saw my mother turn into Satan. And I had to rip it out with the lady, and that was one of the most horrifying IV experiences I've ever had. I had one go through one end and come out the other, and it looked like I had just been stabbed. It was nuts. I'm just going to give you some simple ones before I get into the heavy, okay? Stick with me here. This is good. This is like a little podcast, but with some tech. There are these studies called Electrophysiology Studies. And what they're there to do are to, basically, you have 4 chambers at the heart, and they're there to kind of shock it, to see your body's electrical system and how it works with inside your heart, if there's any scar tissue, something that causes missing beats, AFib, there's a whole mess of things that happen. So, it's not an uncommon procedure. It can be very uncomfortable, but this was way Way too uncomfortable. Before they even start this thing, they put two paddles on you. Instead of going like this to clear you, they actually stick stickers, one here and one here, to paddle you back if you need. And first, if your heart goes out of rhythm, they try to repace it back. If that's not working, they shoot you full of propofol, you go under, and then they defibrillate you. Well, while they shock your heart to see what it does, they try to see if it goes into what's called V-tach, which is like the no-no rhythm of heart rhythms for us. I went into V-tach, and all I heard was, and I gotta remind you, I have been through so many procedures. I'm up to 38 invasive procedures right now in my life. That I have a lot of drugs that have been put in me, so it takes a little bit more than most. So I hear hit him, and the guy starts pushing. He starts pushing on it, and he looked over, and the guy had hit the button. As he's looking over, he had not finished propofol. I'm looking at my wife. He had not finished propofoling me, so it was the best high I've ever felt in my life. It was the crazy. I was like, wow. And then, boom, I was defibrillated. Bang! I shot up. I looked at everybody. And then I was out. That was it. I woke back up to them going, what did that feel like? What did that feel like? We got to write it down. And for those of you at home, the way it felt like to me, especially because I have wires that hold my sternum together, it felt like someone took a bat with spikes that were electric and just smashed it dead chest here. Like, it was the craziest moment that I thought I didn't know if I was coming back from. I also had a pacemaker almost kill me. My wife was there for that, and they accidentally put a second lead in me, and it was actually recalled a month after they put it in, but they let it stay inside of me for 8.5 years. And the lead was recalled because it's prone to fracture inside your body. So for us, if the lead fractures, I have to carry around a magnet at all times, and it stops your defibrillator from defibrillating you. So you just get shocked if it keeps going. Well, they went to go replace it, and it shattered in me, and blood everywhere. I almost bled out and died. That was just a pacemaker, man. That was my second one. I'm going to need my third one within the next year or two. Kind of worried about that. I went through this procedure called a cardiac catheterization, which is pretty much the equivalent of them just going through each side of your groin and sticking like wires in you that they could shoot dye and look at all your little lungs and all the capillaries and all the fun stuff. And I told them, because I've had so many of them, I think I'm up to 20 something. I stopped at 20, I think, counting. So I told the people before I went in, I said, whatever you do, do not go through my right side. And casts take like hour and a half. Good cast, quick in and out, half hour, 45 minutes. So we were working with, don't worry about it, from the guy over there. Oh, I do these all day. I got 10 behind you. I said, don't go through it. The first 2.5 hours, he was trying to jam stuff in me to get through the right side of my groin. And if there's any males or females out there, or anybody that kind of feels that, 2.5 hours while I was awake and trying to jab this stuff through me. Now, being a comic and a very creative writer and thinker, as well as a mouthpiece, said some things to this guy that put the fear of God in him. So he decided to put something in my left leg. Well, that went horribly wrong as well. He was trying for almost an hour. The whole cath was like 3.5 hours, almost 4 hours. It was ridiculous. So he's trying to get in. He's trying to get in, and I'm calling him every name in the book. I'm talking about his wife, his dog, literally. Like I was. You're so stupid. I'm like, you couldn't fucking color a coloring book. Like I was going off. And this guy, he's like, I don't know what to do. We're gonna have to do something drastic, something like that. I don't remember. I was on a lot of shit. Still doesn't make the local feel. It hurts. Dude walks over to a surgical table, comes back with what looks like those scissors that would be like a needle nose pliers. It didn't look like a scalpel, but again, it was like down that way, so I couldn't get an exact view of it, but the shit looked pointy. And he looks at me and goes, "Are you ready? Cause I'm done." And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "On 3." I said, "Okay." He goes, 1, 2, and he just shot it in me on 2, and I heard, and it was completely my scar tissue smashing open, and he got into the vein. From there, it took another hour almost. That sucked, and that was full on pain. During open heart surgery number 4, I kind of said it online, but I had done it without pain meds for 3.5 days. They sawed my chest open, and my aorta was actually fused to my sternum, so they had to move it, and they had to rewire my whole chest together again for the second or third time. Wasn't fun. Saying all this, I have to talk about my triggers, and one of them are face masks, and now it's all COVID. And I shut my mouth and I wear my mask. So if I could do it, you could do it. I'm not making this political, but Jesus Christ. This is the part, I don't know, my wife is here, but some things stress her out. This is the part that I get to that's a bit heavy. I was 9 years old. NYU, Dr. Stephen Colvin, one of the most renowned surgeons in the country, if not the world, because I know he had gone international with some things and was publisher. He was very important, so important that there's the man who invented one of the cameras that the surgeons wear on their heads. We exchanged numbers or whatever. Later down the road at the hospital, my mother had signed off. I had watched my own open heart surgery from that guy. Pull that aside. So I'm at 9 years old. I've already had open heart at 30 hours old, 4 years old. Now it's 9 years old, right? So I could tell, hey, buddy. And I'm like, oh, here comes the pain, you know? Well, this guy, I just told him to shoot me straight. And he pretty much looked at me, and he looked at my mother and father, and he said, look, this is going to be a procedure where I have to improvise, and this is going to be, there isn't a book. It's either you're going to wake up or not. That was my dad hitting the floor. He passed out. My mother looks at me, looks at the doctor, and then the doctor says, in 6 months you'll be inoperable, which means they couldn't help me anyway, and I had 2 years to live. So at 9 years old, the doctor said, it's either you're going to wake up or not. And my mom looked at me, I looked at her, I looked at the guy dead in the eye, and I said, do it. I'm here. There's been a lot of experiments between a kid and that. No, we can't name the hospital. That's
Well,
why.
you can edit it out.
All right, there's this hospital that another trigger of mine and another thing. Speaking of experimental, again, I'm a global case study. I'm one of the oldest in the world. If not the old, they can't find an older person. I went to Europe. I'm here. I've been to the hospital at least 200 times. I've seen teams of that. They cannot find it. I am the guy. They say there is no book on you. All of them. So I remember being younger, and at this one hospital, they were experimenting, and this one lady had left a needle in a kid. There were some things going on there, and I had overheard. They think we're little kids, you know. I didn't know what grant money was back then, but I remember those words. Well, they were doing things because they had no research, and this certain hospital needed funding. I was part of that, and they would stick us in lines in these rooms with just a curtain, just kind of separating us, and we lived in a tent bubble, all of us. And, you know, they weren't your buddies, but you were young, you kind of looked at each other, however you would communicate, I don't know. And I would watch some go in, some come back, some go in, and never come back. And there was one next to me, and I was sure he was coming back. I liked him. It's good, whatever it was. Kid, person. We were the same age. We were 4. He never came back. And it haunts me to this day. So surgical masks and that, and any lights over my head with people over me, triggers, man. I mean, I can't tell you enough. And now also, I'm 40 years old, and I have to have every single tooth ripped out of my mouth because of a disease or a bacterium called endocarditis. I'm loopy from the medication. Bacterial endocarditis. That could travel to your heart and kill you. I was on this medication. There's this medication, and I can prove this with receipts, like research. I'll show you. This one pharmaceutical company, it got so bad that this person went away for not 1 year, not 2 years, not 5 years, not 10 years, but 18 consecutive life sentences. As a kid, they had to burn my teeth through with a blowtorch, and they told me when I get around this age, I gotta have them rip them all out. So I'm 40 years old. I gotta rip all my teeth out and get dentures. And that's one of the biggest things is I have to do that before anybody will check me out on a cardiology standpoint. I had to get a drink, take a breather. See. So again, bacterial endocarditis. If it goes to my heart or in any surgery or anything or any tooth infection or whatever it is, I could die. So they have to rip out all my teeth now before I could even go. I might be able to get my heart mapped. That's about it. We're not talking, I mean, I'm not getting any casts, I'm not getting any the cardiac catheterizations, I'm not getting electrophysiology studies, and I sure as hell aren't going to get my valves replaced or fixed. They could have disintegrated off, they could have just stuck open, or they could have just blew off, and they don't know. And that's the problem. So that's another story. But I want to tell you a sad one. This one's gonna be crazy because it also has a twist. I was 9 years old. Remember, the doctor looked me in the eye and said, "It's either you're gonna wake up or not." Straight to my face, man to man. I was 9, and I was like, "Do it. I'm living." And the doctor looked at me like, "Okay, good. You're good to go." So I did it, and they're this is the other part of my trigger. Remember, face mask people being over me. This was one that really. The guy said, "You have a choice," and I'm laying at the surgical table with lights over me. And I don't even know how many people were there. He goes, "I can give you a shot in your IV, or we can give you some gas." And I couldn't, before I even made a decision, I just see this. And it was a clear mask, and the guy had a thing. And he goes, "Did you tell your mom goodbye, 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 goodbye?" It was silent. But that's the weird part. Because then, and this is truer than shit. Family verified that it's on the record. It's probably highlighted by the surgeon. He died of a blood disorder, but it was highlighted. I'll tell you in a second. I had an out-of-body experience, and I was over them, and it looked like he was trying to choose something, and he didn't choose something to go either way on something. That's how I felt. That's all I know. And he did what he did. And the exact words were, "This worked well." Cut to the chase, I wake up, blah, 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 open heart. You see a whole bunch of, junior surgeons, residency people, all this stuff. And, you see the surgeon, but he was like side-eyeing me the first 1 or 2 times he saw me. He wanted to look at me. And the fourth, fifth, I don't know. I saw him a bunch. It was a while. And he goes, "Hey," he goes, "what was that you said to me and my nurses about this worked well?" I was like, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but I saw you reaching for it." So I had to write it. I was like, I didn't write this. I was like, I saw you reach for something, it took you a bit, and then you said this worked well. I don't know if he thought something of it or kind of remembered it or whatever. There you go. Then a day or so later, I just remember this guy juggling. That's how I know pain's gonna happen. When you're a kid, needles are pain sometimes, I don't know. So I was 9 years old, and this dude comes in, he starts juggling the medicine bottles. "Hey buddy, how you doing? Hey, just stick me with a needle, man. Like, get it over with." I'm sorry, I'm looking at my wife because she's like, "What?" And the surgeon comes, he's walking over, he's white as this light right here. And he looked at me, he goes, "What did you say to me?" I was like, "When?" He's like, "When you said that you had an out-of-body experience, what did you say to me?" I was like, "You were trying to choose between something, it took you a while, you did something, and then you said this worked well." So when he looked at it, went like this, turned it around, and it was highlighting, dictated in the surgical report. He had to do some procedure part or whatever it was, and he then said, "This worked well." So I don't know what that means, but that was probably one of the craziest things that I've ever been through. So real quick, I am going to say this and conclude. The reason why I'm asking you, I'm giving you some of what I have. I have a whole lot more behind me. But I'm giving you some of what I have to really drive this home, because I could die, and what happens to me happens to them. Because again, I'm like the oldest with the complexity that they say there is no book on you. That's why I'm medically published. I do have a doctorate. It's only a PhD. It's not an MD. I don't diagnose. But I can tell you, and they have tested me. In fact, I was tested today by somebody, and they were just like, "You're managing your own case." Yeah, I do. And doctors just let me say what I do. They write it, and they say, that makes perfect scientific sense. Off-label med doing this, go. So, I'm my own doctor. So, with that, I own the Heart Foundation, the Tetralogy of Fallot Foundation Incorporated. It's an LLC, 501c3, blah, blah, blah. It's not affiliated with this at all. This is raising money for me. But if you give me money, I will continue to do well. We were audited 3 years voluntarily by the state so that we could go and pick up big sponsors such as Publix, K Jewelers, things like that. We did what we had to do to show them, this is where the money went. This is what we did. And again, I was in Rubio's office, Nielsen's office, Capitol Hill. We granted one wish. Well, no, we were part of 2 wishes. We did 2 wishes. The one wish was great. The only thing was the last part, I was hospitalized and the limo driver did something. But thankfully, there are a few good friends out there that we coordinated with before this to make this happen. And this person got to go see who they wanted to see. And they suffer a little bit, and a lot. I don't want to speak on their behalf. Okay? We got a kid adopted. Mother and father wanted to take the baby and give him away because they saw the baby as a burden. And that to me was like, whoa. Yeah, it'll be a financial responsibility. You're going to have a lot of stress in your life. But we're special people. Depending on the variable form of this TOF, Shaun White won a gold medal. He has it. It's on the news. So it's nothing that I'm revealing. He has it, but he doesn't have the complexities that I have at all. So we granted 2 wishes. We got a kid adopted. In fact, those doctors on that video, if you go to Survive TOF, that's like TomOrangeFrank.org. TOF stands for Tetralogy of Fallot. So it's Survive TOF.org. And there you'll see me speaking in front of all these doctors, medically accredited international cardiology conferences on clinical and experimental cardiology, focused on what I focus on, this Tetralogy of Fallot. And I've moderated 2 of them, and we're doing great. So, you'll see them shake their head. We got a kid adopted, and the kid would have died in the system, and they all were like this. And that's when they interrupted me and asked me to go speak in another venue. So, all I'm saying is this. Donate, help me live. And, oh yeah, my wife and I, you can look that up. They have us listed by the state. They went through everything. We never drew salary. Your money went when it went. So please, help me live, man. I'll give you some crazy stories. I'll help you with whatever. Please. I want to help others live, because what happens to me happens to others. And I'm kind of like I'm the blueprint. If it worked for somebody as me, as this complex, it'll work for somebody that does this or that. So I'm their blueprint, man. I'm their medical astronaut, and I have tested machines before. I've been in the news. I've been poster child, and I've been on television for a lot. It's a lot of things I've done for this. And I've raised a lot of money for a lot of people, a lot of organizations, and was the mascot in the face of them. But now I have my own, and we did this. My wife and I did this. We put it together, yes, with people's help, but that's what a 501c3 is. But we went out and kicked butt. So please help me live, okay? I love you all. I'm signing off. This is J. Risk, medical astronaut, and I love y'all.
www.savejrisk.com. Cash App is SaveJRisk, and all other information can be found on that page, as well as the GoFundMe.
And that's why I love my wife, because she's my rock. Oh, hold on. I want to give her credit. She single-handedly kept me alive. She's been busting her ass working in COVID, coming home and taking showers and throwing her clothes away and doing every weird, crazy thing, just in case, man, so that I don't get it when I'm in this condition. And then she's managing the money and she's making sure we're okay. So, I love y'all. Be well.